And you were getting into it thinking it was MMA, basically.
Right, right. I was ready. I was ready. I was ready to go. So. Although when I look back at it, I mean, Valentine would have kicked the living shit out of me in a shoe. But yeah. So I went up to Strongbow. I had a while to wait, and I said, "What would you like me to do?" And he goes, "See that chair right there?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Sit there and keep your mouth shut and your ears open. Don't say a word. Just shut up." And then he started making out the board, and I went back up to him. I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Strongbow." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "You spelled my name wrong on the board." He goes, "What?" I go, "You spelled my name wrong on the board, Mancini. He goes, "Kid, let me ask you something. Do you think it really makes a difference?" I said, "It makes a difference to me." He goes, "Sit down and shut up." I said, "Okay." So I just sit down and shut up. And he goes, "Did you say hi to all the boys?" I said, "No, not yet." So I went up to SD. And the only person I was told not to approach was Andre. I was told that, in order to talk to Andre, I had to wait for him to talk to me first. So that happened about 6 months later. So I went up to SD, I went up to the Moondogs, I went to Snuka, Piper, Hogan, I went up to Tito Santana, all of them, and just introduced myself. And that was my first night there. I went out there and I took the figure 4, and I had shown Hammer the match a few years ago. We sat and watched the match, and I sold my ass off on the figure 4, man, hard, like he was killing me and my whole family. So, that was it. My second match was August 9th, 1984 in the West Warwick Music Theater against David Schultz, and he broke my nose in 2 places as a welcome to pro wrestling. I'm glad he did, because I didn't want to go through it for an extended period of time. So what happened is he broke my nose in West Warwick, Rhode Island on August 9th, and then a month later I was in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and they put me with him on TV. And I guess they were watching to see if I was going to unlace my boots and say, "Hey, I'm not doing this." Then I didn't belong there. So I took a minute in a stall in the men's room, in the dressing room, and I just sat there. I was scared. I was scared, and because I had just took the packing out of my nose. I was packed up to my brain, and I took it out myself. I didn't wait for the doctor. I pulled it out myself, because Strongbow said he wasn't going to use me if I could only breathe out of my mouth. So I just went up to David and I said, "You can break it again." I was just going to reset and come back. And no, boy, you got it all wrong. Got it all wrong, boy. Because David had called me after my surgery at home and to apologize. And he said, "Your face got in the way of my fist." So I told him he could break it again. So he goes, "No, it's not like that, boy. Not like that." He goes, "I'm going to apologize to you on national TV." I said, "What?" "Yeah, I remember something again, man. The young kid, I'm like, "Really?" "Yeah, that's right, boy. I'm going to apologize to you on national TV for breaking your nose." I said, "Wow, okay." He went out to the ring. It's on YouTube. Went out to the ring. He spread his arms out. He went his arms out. He goes, "Man, sorry for breaking your nose." I shook his hand, and he smacked me clear across the face. Clear across the face. And I sold it, and this is when I knew I had a couple screws loose back then. I wanted to laugh. Dig dirt. I was wondering how many people were really going to get the significance of that picture behind me. Good for you. So, I'm glad he did that, because I didn't want to go through the hazing. And that was a quick hazing to see if I belong there or not. And other than the chops and battle royals until my chest bled. That's the only hazing I got. Les Thornton stretched me out once, but that's because we were in New Hampshire, and the baby faces couldn't get to the heels unless they went through the venue. So Strongbow goes, you can't talk to your opponent. And you know what? I was pretty damn proud of that, because I want to explain something. When people hear the word professional wrestler, they take that word professional and they make it synonymous with fake. You know, professional wrestler. For me, being a professional wrestler was going into the ring only knowing the finish and then going in there and having a match. That's what being a real professional to me was. So SD Jones, he goes, you know, Les is a little up there, kid. You got to take it easy on him. I go, how old is he? He goes, well, I think he's in his late 40s, early 50s. You really got to take it easy on him. You know, you're only 18 years old. I go, he goes, I'll tell you what, when you lock up a Les, when you lock up, just say, what do you want to do, old man? I said, well, okay. So I went out there, you know, and locked up with him, and I said, what do you want to do, old man? And my head was up my ass, and my arm was where it wasn't supposed to be, and I didn't know he was some sort of Olympic wrestler for England or something. He was a shooter, and he had me pretty twisted hard. I couldn't breathe. And he goes, you gonna be a good boy? I go, He said, good. And we had a great match, and we became really good friends. And then when I went back to the dressing room, SD Jones had his hands on his knees, and he was busting a gut, just busting a gut. So that.
I knew Les Thornton too in Calgary in his retirement years, and I think he was like half of an agent too for a while there too, wasn't he?
Yeah. Les was a really good guy. He was. We were all in the car. Him, me, Les Thornton, and David Sammartino. That I didn't know Frank Williams. He was gone by the time I got there, but I took his place. You know. It's funny when I used to watch, I told my family in 1980 when I was 14, when Bruno announced his retirement, I said, I'm going to wrestle for the WWF. And they're like, what? I go, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I said that when I was 14. I said, but I ain't going to be no Frank Williams, I'll tell you that. Well, guess what?